So thank you for coming to the talk today. Presentation itself is the business of gluten-free, but of course there'll be a little bit of information about what is celiac disease, who we are, what we do, and how you can work with us. So if there's specific questions I can't answer, I will direct you to the appropriate party after the presentation, but I'll do my best to assist you. So first we'll start with what is celiac disease. So celiac disease is a medically diagnosed autoimmune condition. Basically, it is where when the ingestion of gluten occurs, the immune system mounts a reaction that will attack the villi in the small intestine of the body. So over the course of time, this results in significant damage to the villi in the intestine and thus hinders our ability to absorb nutrients. But symptoms of celiac disease can manifest differently for every person, from very mild to no symptoms to very extreme. But of course, that isn't to say that damage isn't occurring. That's always taking place. The symptomatic expression of it can vary per person. So there would be celiac children and adults, and basically the only way to deal with this is to follow a very strict gluten-free diet for life. Otherwise, serious health complications can obviously occur. So you can be diagnosed with celiac disease at any age in your life, and there is no degree of celiac disease. So if you're celiac, you're celiac. So one of our infographics here is a typical picture of symptoms that might be very common to many celiacs. So you're looking at diarrhea, bloating, constipation, chronic tiredness. Anemia would be one, in combination with a number of nutrient deficiencies, as with the hindered potential to absorb nutrients. But there are other symptoms as well, including things like weight loss, mouth ulcers, bone pain, on an emotional level, moodiness and depression, and more seriously, infertility, recurrent miscarriages, things like that. And of course, with an undiagnosed celiac disease, someone does run the potential of more serious health complications because they obviously wouldn't be following the adequate diet. So that can result in very serious consequences down the line. If you suspect you are celiac, or someone you know may suspect they are celiac, talk just quickly about the diagnostic procedure. Essentially, you'd want to visit your GP initially, because a lot of these symptoms could cross over with many other digestive conditions. So you'd like to visit your GP, let them know your concerns. They will issue a blood test, which will test for the presence of certain antibodies. Provided the results of those tests, they would either then refer you to a gastroenterologist specifically for a biopsy that would take a small sample of the small intestine to examine the extent, if any, of damage to the villi there. And with that, you would either get a diagnosis and or not. So with celiac disease, you're obviously having to avoid foods that contain gluten. So these would be some examples here. Wheat and all wheat derivatives, as you can see. A lot of ancient grains, but even things like spelt and farro, different hybrids of wheat, rye, barley, oats, contaminated with wheat often, malt in its various forms, alcoholic beverages such as beers and various lagers, and it's commonly found in things like bread, rolls, croutons, a lot of cakes and pastries, pastas of course as well, but there's hidden sources of gluten too, so sauces and soups, things you wouldn't necessarily think of. Some of the examples of safe foods for people with celiac disease. So obviously naturally gluten-free foods like your fresh meat, fruit, fish, vegetables, herbs, eggs, most of the dairy products, pure oils and fats, nuts and seeds. Then you're getting into the dried peas, lentils, pulses, and various other grains here that would be gluten-free. So as you know, these are naturally gluten-free foods, but there would also be quite a few products on the market now that would be formulated specifically to be gluten-free, whether by way of being naturally that way or using substitutes for commonly used flours and things like that. Just another little infographic here from the Society. So 1 in 100 people in Ireland actually have celiac disease, so you're looking at 46,000 people throughout the country. And the risk rises to 1 in 10 if you have a first blood relative, so there's a lot of genetic component to this as well. little bit more about the symptoms which we discussed. So a little bit about the Celiac Society. So what do we do and who are we? So we are a national charity. We've been well established since 1970, and we provide information, support, and awareness to celiacs throughout Ireland. We are the advocating voice for celiac communities. So we do work with bodies such as the FSAI, Safe Food, the Restaurant Association, and Departments of Health and Welfare. But our mission essentially is to improve the quality of life for celiacs and those who benefit from a gluten-free diet. And our vision is, of course, a healthier life for all celiacs and those who benefit from a gluten-free diet. Some of the services that we would provide to our members so include member support and guidance. So following a diagnosis, or if you're suspecting you are celiac, we could help to advise the process to get the diagnosis. And then what sort of steps you have to put in place following it, so to make sure your kitchen is not contaminated. How do you cater for family members? And of course the emotional stress that can come with that sort of thing. It can be very intimidating and difficult to navigate through. But once you work out all those challenges at first, it just becomes part of the lifestyle. So we're there to support with that transition following a diagnosis. Opportunities for members to meet each other and network through shared experiences. So we would have support groups, cooking demos, road shows, things like that. Information and guidance on a gluten-free lifestyle and diet, so dietary requirements. Basically, a lot of people will come to us with questions: is this suitable? Is this not? Can I eat this? Can my child have this? So really directing a lot of the time, but we would also have various publications, so our monthly e-zine, we have a Celiac Ireland magazine, we have our annual food list, which you can see here, and I'll get a little bit more into that later. We would also be able to provide people with eating out cards, so if you're dining in restaurants, just something you could give the chef or the staff member that would explain the condition and a little bit more about how you need to eat, and that is available in languages if you're traveling, various languages if you're traveling. We'd also offer support and advice to gluten-free food producers and manufacturers, education for caterers, chefs, those in the restaurant industry who are looking to hopefully cater to people with celiac disease. And we act again as a campaigning voice for celiacs to the government, health professionals, the food and hospitality industry, and the general public. We would also offer a lot of information on celiac disease and dermatitis herpetiformis, which is a very itchy skin rash often associated with the condition. It's not very pleasant to deal with. So a little bit about our membership profile. Just some numbers here. Right now we currently have around 6,500 active users, members. Our Facebook page gets a lot of attention, which is nice. So 92% of those would be medically diagnosed. And then just a little bit of a breakdown in the age group. We would have a significant number of increases in the amount of children that are coming to us through their family members, obviously, but diagnosed with celiac disease. And then also a relatively older population as well that would benefit greatly from our services, highly more dominated female to male. So just looking at celiac disease in numbers, again, as I mentioned before, 1 in 100 in Ireland, so 1% of the population, or 46,000. A further 7% of the population would be sensitive to gluten without the diagnosis necessarily of celiac disease, but you're looking at a market of essentially combined 36,000 would be directly affected by gluten in various degrees. So 9 out of 10 free-from purchasers and leading multiples are choosing to partake in gluten-free living, and of course for some this would be a choice, not necessarily a necessity. But in the European context, approximately 7.3 million people would be directly affected by celiac disease. So in a business context, not necessarily my language, but I'll do the best to talk about that a little. So some of these research from Board BIA, but the incidence of gluten-free food has obviously gone up. Now that one's a little bit old there, but 6% in 2010 to 26 by 2014, so a significant rise there. Free from grocery market in the UK is worth £355 million, and then in Ireland approximately 33 million. So projections for the UK and Ireland projected to grow substantially there. And the free from is the fastest growing food category Grocery shopper is also looking to dine out, holiday according to the free from, and having work lunches. I come from Canada myself, where I saw very much of the same trend occurring. I've been in nutrition and health food for quite some time, and that is the free from category, specifically gluten-free, was in tremendous growth when I was there. The food tourism market is also emerging, and obviously celiacs are very active in this market, and according to one of our member surveys from 2014, they were willing to travel up to 50 kilometers for a suitable dining experience. So they will direct the crowd there as well. So why is this important to you if you're a manufacturer, retailer, producer, or a celiac yourself? If you don't care, you're basically ignoring that 8% of the population that are directly affected in choosing to dine gluten-free, with celiacs mandatorily dining gluten-free. Celiacs will often influence the spending and direct the group to venues that will be able to cater for them. Venues that do cater gluten-free become destinations for celiacs, so you're looking at repeat business and a consumer for life. Once the trust has been established, that's a very important part of the process. As with celiac, there's so much concern about going out and being safe that once you have that place that you know you can stick with, it serves as good repeat business. Celiac consumers, like any of us, love new products, and from what we experience through our organization, they represent a very vocal online community. So once they've found something they like or it's new, they're very inclined to get the word out there through media outlets. And then of course, food and allergen legislation updates, so the mandatory allergen labeling and specifically legislation around gluten-free foods. Working with us, so what would be some of the inspiration to want to work or partner with the Celiac Society? So we are the leading experts in gluten-free living and the trusted advisor to celiacs throughout Ireland. So we're currently partnering with various companies in retail, pharma, and the hospitality sector to try and get awareness and education training is more well established in the Irish market. We would offer workshops and continuous follow-up or support on various levels, provided you had ongoing questions. We can help to enhance familiarity and trust with your brand and or product range. And for things like this, the food list, it's a wonderful opportunity to get your products out there because there's absolutely no cost to have them listed. It just requires the submission of information, which I can clarify for you later. We'd also have things like the restaurant list and hopefully soon an updated catering list. And within these exist small and large advertising opportunities should you wish to pursue them. So these are just some examples of the brands that we would work with now. There's hundreds more, so I picked and choose, but you can see we were well established in the Quality Food Awards in the free from category. And I would work a lot liaising with the Food Safety Authority of Ireland just to stay on top of legislation changes and help to direct new business endeavors that way as well. So if you were ever interested in getting into the food list, basically the process of it has already begun, but I've started reaching out to our database of manufacturers, and that started in later August. So then I collect declaration forms, certifications for product, and the necessary paperwork. Submissions are then reviewed by myself, my colleagues, and our senior dietitian, and then it's printed and distributed for January 2017. So it is a yearly publication that goes out, and it does go out to our member base of 6,500 people. Other opportunities, catering list, which is currently in progress, with being fine-tuned, a restaurant list that would be available on our website for members. There's advertising and sponsorship, and that's in the food list itself, our magazine, online, through our Facebook page, things like that. Another thing I'll talk briefly about is our Crossgrain symbol. So if you're marketing any gluten-free products throughout Europe, this symbol here is a European recognized symbol, and it's basically to represent the best practice sort of in gluten-free food production. So it's an internationally recognized symbol specifically for gluten-free products, and it's promoted by celiac organizations throughout Europe. And it's a quick and very easy way for celiac consumers to be able to look at something and identify it as a safe food to eat, which is even more important if you're traveling and you don't necessarily have access to something in your language. You can look at the symbol and kind of take that stress away to know that this one's okay for me and my family. So it is really that promoted, trusted symbol, and it can be established to some or all of your range of products. The license to use the symbol is available through the Celiac Society, and that would be same for other celiac societies throughout Europe. So that is it for now. Any questions you have, I can try to answer them, or you can follow up with me specifically. My role there is the food list, the restaurant list, catering list, and anything really food and nutrition related. But we would have other areas of the organization that may better be able to help you, provided the nature of your queries. So if you have any questions, just please do let me know.